You know that feeling. The mail arrives, you spot the logo of the electric company, and your stomach just tightens. It's a feeling thousands of Swiss homeowners know by heart. That little knot of anxiety as you open your electricity bill, watching the numbers creep up year after year. You feel powerless, like you're just a spectator to your own rising expenses. You try your best to conserve, switching off lights, nagging the kids, but no matter what, the bills keep climbing. It's not just about the money, it's that heavy feeling of uncertainty, worrying about your family's financial future, and maybe even a quiet guilt about your home's environmental footprint. For years, this has been the frustrating reality in Switzerland, a feeling of being trapped. But what if that whole story could change? What if you could stop being a victim of rising prices and start taking back control? Imagine flipping that anxiety into a feeling of empowerment, turning that helplessness into a sense of genuine pride. All across Switzerland, a quiet revolution is happening, not in the streets, but on the rooftops of ordinary homes. It's a move away from depending on a shaky grid to creating your own clean, reliable power. This isn't some futuristic dream. It's the real story of a Swiss family who found their way to energy independence and, with it, a peace of mind they thought they'd lost for good. Stick around to see exactly how they did it. Let's meet the Baumann family, a pretty typical family from just outside Zurich. Mark is an IT consultant. His wife, Lena, is a primary school teacher, and they have 2 young kids. Their home was always their sanctuary, their biggest investment. But lately, it had also become their biggest headache. Every single quarterly bill felt like a punch to the gut. They'd sit at the kitchen table, the letters spread out between them, the bold numbers practically mocking their efforts to save. Those conversations started getting tense. "Have you seen this? It's gone up again," Mark would say, and you could hear the frustration in his voice. Lena would just sigh. "I don't know what else we can possibly cut back on. We're already so careful." They weren't just worried about today, they were worried about the future. What would these bills look like in 5 years or 10? How were they supposed to plan for retirement or their kids' education with this unpredictable cost hanging over everything? And it wasn't only financial pressure. They saw the news reports about climate change and felt that growing weight of responsibility. They wanted to do the right thing for the planet, to be a good example for their children. But figuring out how seemed impossibly complicated. It was a painful catch-22. They desperately wanted to be more sustainable and financially secure, but the how-to felt completely out of reach. They felt adrift, with no land in sight. Their home, once their source of comfort, was now a constant reminder of how vulnerable they were. After another jaw-dropping bill, Mark and Lena decided they had to do something. "That's it," Mark said one evening. "We are looking into solar." It started with a real spark of hope. They spent their evenings online, diving headfirst into a world they knew nothing about. But that initial optimism quickly evaporated, replaced by a tidal wave of confusion. The amount of information was just overwhelming. They were hit with a wall of technical jargon: monocrystalline, polycrystalline, PERC, bifacial panels, string inverters, microinverters, kilowatt hours, kilowatts peak. It was like trying to read a foreign language. Which panels are the most efficient? Which ones work best for the Swiss climate, with our mix of sunny days and heavy winter snow? Every website seemed to give conflicting advice, each one claiming to have the best answer. They read about Switzerland's big goals, like the Energy Strategy 2050, which is all about aiming for a climate-neutral future and a huge increase in solar power. They saw that the country is making progress, but that didn't help them figure out their own rooftop. They learned about government subsidies designed to make solar more affordable, with new bonuses for certain types of installations coming online. But trying to navigate the application process, understand the different rates, and figure out what they actually qualified for felt like a full-time job. The fear of making a massive, expensive mistake was paralyzing. This was a huge investment. What if they picked the wrong company? What if the panels didn't work as well as promised? They'd read horror stories online about botched installations and broken promises. The more they researched, the more anxious they got. Their dream of energy independence was starting to feel like an impossible puzzle, with 1,000 pieces and no picture on the box. The hope they started with was draining away, leaving them more stressed than when they began. Just when they were about to throw in the towel, a friend mentioned a website they'd used, SolarSwitzerland.ch. Skeptical but running on fumes, Lena took one last look. What she found was different. It wasn't just another company pushing panels, it felt like a resource, a guide. And for the first time, things started to click. The website was built for people exactly like them, Swiss homeowners who felt totally overwhelmed. It broke down all that complicated tech into simple, easy to understand language. It had clear comparisons of top-performing panels that were perfect for Swiss homes, explaining the good and the bad of each. Most importantly, it laid out the whole journey, from the first thought to what happens after the installation. They learned how innovative tech like bifacial panels, which capture sunlight from both sides, could seriously boost their energy production, especially with the reflection from Swiss snow. They saw that the Swiss government is serious about this shift, aiming to have renewables like solar replace the nuclear power plants being phased out. The website completely demystified the subsidies. It explained how new government incentives could slash their upfront costs. It showed them how they could even sell extra energy back to the grid, and how new rules for energy communities would make sharing power locally even easier in the coming years. Feeling a jolt of hope, Mark used the site to request a consultation. A few days later, they were on the phone with an expert who didn't just launch into a sales pitch. He listened. He asked about their bills, their home, their budget, and their fears. For Mark and Lena, this was it, the turning point. They weren't just buying solar panels, they were getting a partner who actually understood their situation. The confusion was gone, replaced by clarity and confidence. They finally saw a clear path forward. They chose a system with high-efficiency panels and a battery, which meant they could store solar energy for evenings and cloudy days, making them as independent as possible. The installation was booked. The weight of anxiety finally started to lift. Installation day was buzzing with excitement. The crew was professional and efficient, and by the end of the day, the sleek, dark panels were part of their roof. It felt huge. It was a statement. Their home was no longer just a consumer, it was a producer of clean energy. But the real wow moment came a few months later. Another envelope from the electric company. This time, though, there was no dread. Mark opened it at the kitchen table with Lena and the kids watching. He stared at the number and a slow grin spread across his face. He turned the bill around for them to see. It was a tiny fraction of what it used to be. You could feel the relief in the room. It was the feeling of freedom, of control. They had actually done it. Life for the Baumann family changed in ways they didn't even expect. The financial tension just melted away. They were no longer at the mercy of unpredictable price hikes. They felt a deep, quiet pride. When their kids asked about the panels, Mark and Lena could explain that their house was now powered by the sun, that they were doing their part for the planet. They were living their values. They were now part of Switzerland's bigger energy story, a story of a nation pushing towards a secure, clean energy future, driven by policies like the Energy Strategy 2050 and the will of its people. Their home had become their own little power station, contributing to a stronger, more sustainable Switzerland. The peace of mind they gained? Priceless. They had made a smart, future-proof investment in their home and their family, turning their biggest source of stress into their greatest source of pride. The Baumann family's journey from bill anxiety to energy empowerment is a story that's happening in homes all over Switzerland right now. It's a journey about taking back control, securing your family's future, and being part of the solution. You don't have to feel stuck with rising electricity bills, and you definitely don't have to figure out the world of solar all by yourself. If their story hit home for you, if you're ready to start your own journey to energy independence, then take that first, simple step. Visit Solar-Switzerland.ch. Check out the resources, use the free tools to see your home's potential, and book a no-strings-attached consultation. It's not just about finding the best solar panels, it's about finding the right partner to guide you. Click the link in the description below to get started. The power to change your home's future isn't a far-off dream anymore. It's right there on your rooftop, just waiting. It's the power to slash your bills, increase your home's value, and help build a cleaner Switzerland for the next generation. It's your turn to take control of your energy future.